You have learned about designing, now it is preparing the questionnaire. Some people are yet to join. As such, if you have any question from morning session, you can just ask. We'll wait for a few minutes. Eleven people have joined.
Good afternoon, all. It's very good to see you all, and also to see that we are coming to an end with the end of this year. And it's sad also that you all will be doing your research, and then we may not have very strong chance again to interact, but we certainly invite you for SPSS workshop so we can continue this kind of sessions.
Yeah.
And in just about 1 minute we will start this. I would just like to tell you that a questionnaire has been prepared, a very generic questionnaire to collect your feedback, which we were invited to fill in. We will be sending you an email on that, and then you can also write the name specifically the way you want that to be printed on your certificate. So be specific on that. Once it is fed into the database, it may not be changed. Okay, sir.
Okay.
We should start the session
In
now.
this session, we have two important aspects. One is steps of preparing a questionnaire, and the second one is the structure of a questionnaire. Two aspects of preparing questionnaire we will discuss today in this afternoon. The learning objective of this session is to explain the steps of preparing a questionnaire, to explain the structure of questionnaire, explain the modes of questionnaire administration. Preparing a questionnaire needs a lot of effort and time. Let us take a research topic. For which now we will learn how to prepare a questionnaire. Let us consider that we wish to formulate a questionnaire on the following research topic: a study of factors affecting life satisfaction of elderly. This is the topic on which we will try to learn how to formulate, how to prepare a questionnaire. The immediate question which we have to just keep in mind is the research questions for the research study. We'll take two. What are the factors which affect the life satisfaction of elderly? What is the relationship between the factors and life satisfaction? These are the two research questions which we'll have to keep in mind while preparing our questionnaire. The next task is to take into consideration the specific objectives of the research study. So, for example, these are the three specific objectives of the study. One, to identify the factors which affect the life satisfaction of elderly. Two, to study the nature and extent of factors which affect the life satisfaction of elderly. And third objective is to study the interrelationship between the factors. So remember, to prepare a questionnaire, you have to start to keep in mind research topic, research question, and objectives of the research, and also the hypothesis. Hypothesis, for example, we take social support and life satisfaction are associated, spiritual well-being and satisfaction are associated, physical health and life satisfaction are associated, psychological health and life satisfaction are associated. These are very simple hypotheses I'm taking. The point to remember is that these are the components which we have to keep in our mind while preparing a questionnaire. I'll repeat, the topic of the research must be in your mind all the time when you prepare your questionnaire. Second thing is research questions. Third is the objectives. And fourth, hypothesis of your research study. These four things are the base of preparing a questionnaire. We can prepare an effective questionnaire which will answer our research question by taking a step-by-step approach. Generally, we take 5 steps in preparing a questionnaire that would produce reliable and valid results. You have to remember this point. We are going to prepare a questionnaire which will fetch us reliable and valid data. First of all, we need to know what kind of information we want to gather with the questionnaire. To know about what information we are going to collect, we have to keep in mind the 4 points we have just mentioned: research topic, research questions, objectives of the study, and hypothesis of the study. In deciding the contents of the questionnaire, these 4 points should be kept in mind. The questions that you include in your questionnaire should be aimed at collecting information related to these questions. I'll just explain you a little more about this. Any question which you select to include in your questionnaire, examine it, that what kind of data it is going to produce, and to which of the 4 points discussed above it will get you the data. Every question must be examined, that which objective data it is going to give us, whether this data is related to a hypothesis, etc. So always you have to just go on reviewing your questions in relation to the 4 points discussed above. In the context of the structure of the questionnaire, following points should be kept in mind. One, levels of measurement, format of questions or response, questions to be avoided, answers to be probed or avoided, and sequence of the questions. I hope you remember these points which you have discussed in different sessions of this workshop. That is, it could be as a criteria of accepting or rejecting a particular question. Means, when you select a question, just you wait and ask yourself what kind of data it will produce, which level of measurement I'm going to get. Nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio. Similarly, the question should be examined, that what format of question I am taking, dichotomous, open-end, closed-end, multiple choice, multiple response, etc. Same time, also see the format of response and see that how it is going to be relevant for your study. Then you also know about certain type of question we should avoid. For example, leading questions, threatening questions, double-barreled questions. So, moment you select a question, you decide that this question I will include in my questionnaire, examine it, whether it is a threatening question, or is it a leading question, or whether it is a double-barreled question. If on these criteria it fits, then you tick mark the question, you said yes. Answers to be avoided also you have to consider. See that if you are putting can't say, don't know, undecided, somewhere you have to keep in your mind that if it is very much necessary, take it, but keep in mind that it has to be probed first before you record, because many can't say, undecided, don't know, will bring error in your statistical results. Sometimes, if you have more can't say answers, that question has to be dropped. So it is considered as not a valid question. Then also, you have to keep in mind sequence of questions. How you start your questionnaire, how you the second part, third part, like that. The questions that you develop for the questionnaire should be clear, concise, and direct. This should be always in your mind that my question must be clear, it should be concise, short questions are preferred because it is easy to understand, and it should be direct question. Corollary of this is what we call hypothetical questions. In research, we say that we must not ask hypothetical question like, if you were Prime Minister of the country, what steps you would take for students? These are hypothetical questions we do not accept in research. These will ensure that you get the best possible answers from your respondents. For example, opening question is very important when you are thinking of structure. Most important part is opening question, how you open your questionnaire. The first few questions, we say that opening questions should be, in general, very easy to answer, in which respondent feels very comfortable. Therefore, you might start with some simple descriptive questions that will get the respondent rolling. You should try to generate motivation among respondents to answer your questionnaire. You should never begin your data collection with sensitive or threatening question. Your whole questionnaire administration will fail. Just as in other aspects of life, first impressions are important in data collection and research. So, first few questions you ask will determine the tone for the survey and can help you put your respondent at ease. Select the questions that are simple and unambiguous in the beginning, maybe throughout the questionnaire, but beginning question must be very simple and unambiguous. You should not select complex questions or difficult questions or statements using technical jargon, as it will only confuse your respondents, lead to incorrect responses. Your important questions should be asked as early as possible, perhaps in the beginning of your questionnaire. Reason is very simple. When a respondent starts answering your question, a little bit of tiredness comes. Respondent feels a little bit tired, or interest comes down. And then if you put the important question, you may not get the correct response. That's the reason we suggest that your important questions should be asked in the early part of your questionnaire. This can help you to gather important data, even if you sense that your respondents may be becoming distracted by the end of the questionnaire. Now, before we go to the second step, I would like to know if you have any participant has any question or you want any clarification, any doubt, you please type in the chat box. Any question is coming up?
Yes, sir. We will wait for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes what happens is we ask them question, they think, and then
Yeah. Okay.
You can type. You understand that typing takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it also allows you to frame your question in a very good way.
Yeah.
So take your time.
Yes.
This session is open for any other question from any sessions previously done.
Yes, certainly.
You're welcome to ask any question from.
Particularly yesterday's sessions.
Yeah.
You must take yesterday's 2 sessions and today's morning 3 sessions together. This is the outcome of these 3 exercises, 3 sessions outcome. Now we are going to discuss.
What should be the percentage of close and open-ended questions, sir?
Whose question is this?
It's Shahana.
Shahana. There is nothing like that, Shahana. There is no question. It depends upon your objectives and your hypothesis and all. There is no question of percentage or proportion of the question. But I'll remind you that you should have questions at higher level of measurement. Yesterday, I emphatically inform you, all the participants, all the researchers, if you want quality results, precise results, work for higher level of measurement. The questions of interval level or ratio level at least.
How the objectives converted to research questions?
Yeah, objective when you put, it's a question in fact. Shall I take you to our objectives? We'll take to our objectives.
But I think the question was, I think he's asking about the major objective of the research.
No, I think, no, his question is that how to convert objective into question. It's a very simple. I'll just take you to the objectives and we'll come back to this 24th slide. Quickly, I'll come. We'll go to objectives because this is one which is a very useful question. If you can learn this technique, yeah, here it is. To identify the factors which affect the life satisfaction of elderly. Now, while you are reviewing the literature, you will come across with a number of factors. For example, social support is one factor which affects life satisfaction. Now, this can be converted into a question like, who is there in your home to take care of you? Whether you are staying with your relatives or alone, like that. Suppose you have another factor as spiritual well-being. Immediately you can frame a question. Do you practice yoga? Do you have meditation. I hope you are getting my point. So any objectives, you can have say 4 or 5 questions. Very simple question. Once you have the objective very clear, it becomes very easy to formulate questions. Yes, sir. Hanumantra, yeah. Now, we'll go back to our 24th slide. So the objectives can be easily converted into questions. So formulation of questionnaire becomes very simple.
Yes, sir. So another question from Khalid is, should we employ matrix type questionnaire only, or can it be a mix of all other types of formats?
It should be a mix of all other types. Matrix is only when you have similar response pattern for a set of questions, not for different types of questions. So matrix can be used for only very specific questions. Now we'll move to step 2. Yeah, what is that?
Many asks to avoid answers like can't say and don't know. That means we have to avoid open-ended questions.
No. Even in closed end, sometimes we give these options. For example, child labor must be banned. And you can give one option that undecided, or I can't say. This is the practice we give. But the point is that what I said in the morning session, this needs to be probed. Means, as a researcher, you should be satisfied with this answer that respondent is giving it correctly. That is, it is not that respondent is just trying to bypass you. That's called probing. These answers must be probed. You give sufficient time, examine or re-examine it. Even then you find that he says undecided, indifferent, or can't say, then you can record it. Is it clear, Kumini?
What should be the length of good questionnaire?
It's a very subjective question. We can't say that what is the good length. But in the morning, I have mentioned that a questionnaire with 30 questions or 40 questions is considered very good questionnaire. But it's not a rule. It's just a practice that we can collect enough data with 30 to 40 questions.
Does this also include demographics, sir?
No, demographic is separate. I am talking about the research, based on the research. Demographic is extra. And you should remember, while you think of the length of questionnaire or number of questionnaire, you must keep in your mind that there is an error called non-sampling error. That error comes in research by the questions we asked. There are different ways of errors entering into your research. That is, for example, it could be from your side, your question is not clear. So the results what you get is not correct. This is error. Second is, your question is correct, but respondent has not understood. This is another source of error. You have framed a question, you had one meaning in your mind. Respondents, after reading it, he gets it with a different meaning of that question. These are the different sources of error. So remember, when you think of number of questions or length of questionnaire, these things you must consider. More questions more non-sampling errors. Lengthy questions will have lot of errors in data.
So just a request. When you're answering the question or not looking at the screen, maybe you can see in the camera so people
Yeah, no, that
will be happy to see.
Okay. It was just blank, so
Yes.
I think I have made the question clear. Whose question was this?
That was Shahana.
Yeah.
Another question, sir, from Nageshwar.
Yeah.
I think we can frame questions for almost any aspect under the sun, but have to be clear on objectives and the use of language. Please correct me, sir.
Very right. Very right. I think which I didn't mention, I could not have mentioned, but you have mentioned, Ninad. Language of the question is another very interesting thing. A researcher is supposed to use very good language because it enables you to get right data. So generally, I suggest to take help of some persons from the language people and get your questionnaire checked by a language expert.
Okay, sir. Another question from Naresh. If put the most important questions in the beginning sequence will question mark.
Sequence? No, we should try to put the important questions in the beginning. It does not mean the opening question, remember. Before respondent gets tired, gets fed up with your questions which they are not very much interested. It's a general feeling. But they are answering because of your request and all. So we suggest that your important questions should come earlier. Semantics, yes, it is exactly the semantic. When the language comes into your questionnaire, we call it semantics.
What is that, sir? Again, semantics is what?
Semantic is the meaning of the question. That's and when we want to convey and we are not able to convey, we say it's a semantic problem.
Because it's not communicated in a manner
which we want. Many times it happens, we fail to communicate what exactly we wish to do. That's called semantic problem.
Some people put demographics in the beginning and some in the end, and mostly Westerners do in the end. What should be that?
It's anywhere. You can put it anywhere in the beginning or at the end. But in India, I have found generally it is in the beginning. We put in the beginning.
We don't have to disclose the identity anyways. Why to waste our time in demographics first? Let us first ask the questions that are relevant for the
It's your choice. Absolutely, there is no fiction. You can ask questions. But my experience is that when you ask about demographic, you are getting close to the respondent. That he feels that you are concerned. You are asking, who are in your family, what they are doing, what's your important. All those things makes you a little closer to the respondent. And they feel that, okay, he's concerned about my status and my. So that gives a better response pattern. So we suggest to put in the beginning.
Hope that answers the question. Your question, Sama. Question from Banu is: how can we decide the areas of domains of questionnaire?
I have mentioned it. Domains of the questionnaire. It totally depends on your objectives, hypothesis, and to some extent, research questions, domains. Like for this example, we can have, say, one domain would be social support, other domain could be physical health, psychological health will be third domain, life satisfaction will be fourth domain. It all flows from the objectives, hypothesis, and the research question. Are you talking of this domain as the part of the questionnaire, or you are asking me about domain related to standardized scale? There is the domain is something different.
What she exactly asked was, how can we decide the areas or domains of questionnaires?
No, there are two things. Areas and domain both are not same. I mean, you can use it loosely as the same, but areas you can get it from objectives, hypotheses, and research questions. But when you talk of the domain, it's exactly in the scale when we prepare, then domains are decided by using some statistical method like factor analysis we use. And then we name the domains based on the factor loadings and all.
So I think we can move on.
Yeah. Step 2 is the questions which you have selected. Now we have to administer the questionnaire. Questionnaire may be administered by researcher himself or herself. This is the one way, or it may be distributed to the respondents with a request to respond it, and it would be collected later. This is the second method. And third is, questionnaire may be sent to the respondent by mail with a request to fill it and send it back to the researcher. So these are the three methods of administration. One, as a researcher, you read the question and record the answer yours. Second is, you hand over the questionnaire to the respondent, request the respondent to answer the questions, and you collect it later. Third is, you have got the addresses of respondents, you send them questionnaire by post and request them to fill it up and send you back by post. These are the three. Before starting the preparation of the questionnaire, you should take into account, take consideration the respondents.
Khalid sir, what are the precautions that you suggest to make the questionnaire reliable and valid in the beginning itself?
These two concepts we generally do not use for a questionnaire. Reliable and validity, exclusively it is found in case of scale. There is no way to find reliability and validity. But we try to get the data which will be valid, we say.
I mean a scale.
No, for a scale we can find out its reliability and validity. But for questionnaire, when you have different questions you select, and there is no way to get reliability and validity. Only we make our best effort to get correct data which can be relied. This is only our presumption that we are getting correct data and we can rely on it. Is it clear? Validity and reliability is only possible when you are using a scale. Done. Well, I can also add one thing to this, Khalid. That's a reason we prefer to use scale, standardized scale. I'll also discuss it a little later. But as you have put the question now, I'm telling you, this is the plus point with a standard scale where we can find the reliability and validity. But in case of using questionnaire, we cannot do it. in considering the respondents, we mean that a respondent may be children, adults, or elderly. Respondents may be illiterate, literate, or well educated. They may be senior executives. Now, all puts one thing in mind, that while preparing questionnaire, you have to frame questions in keeping in mind this point. For example, suppose you are preparing a questionnaire which you will give to children, then you have to make your questionnaire in a very simple language, few questions, maybe pictorial sometime answers. If it is for illiterate, many things you have to just put and observe and record. Suppose you are preparing a questionnaire for senior executives. You have to remember that he may be a very busy person and he may not be able to answer your questions. So you have to be very brief, and short questionnaires only will work. So for administration of questionnaire, you have to keep in mind these things. Third step. Any question with the second step? Administration of your questionnaire. Any question? Any participant? Okay. No question. Okay, we'll move.
Yes, sir.
Third step in preparation of draft questionnaire is prepare a draft of the questionnaire. We call it draft questionnaire. After preparing the draft questionnaire, it is always better to show it to some subject experts. It's very advantageous. As an expert can tell you about which question is vague, which question is not relevant, and accordingly incorporate the suggestions of the experts. The questionnaire should be revised after consulting the subject experts. Take the experts' comment seriously and try to revise, and if possible, again you show it to the experts. Next, the questionnaire should be pre-tested. To determine the effectiveness of your questionnaire, it is necessary to pre-test it before actually using it. You should take small sample for pre-testing, not a very big sample, but see that the sample you are selecting for pre-test is from the sample, your prospective sample, the sample which you are going to study. Yeah. Any question on the third step?
Can we run that from the pilot study, sir?
There is a difference between pilot study and pre-testing, sir.
With the results that we got with the pilot test, can we run the tests here for this pre-testing?
No, there are the two concepts are having different purpose. Pre-testing is the testing of tool only.
Okay.
So here we are trying to examine whether the language of the question is appropriate, whether respondents is able to understand, how much time it takes. All these things are considered when we are going for pre-testing. Whereas pilot study is a miniature form of this research study, where we go for even the data analysis. We want to see the results. Pilot study will give you the results also, and you can understand whether we will be able to test the hypothesis or not. But pre-testing is exclusively testing of instrument. Various aspects of questionnaire is tested in pre-testing. Even the sequence of question, whether it is correct, whether your opening question is correct, whether some question is very vague or it's not up to the mark, all those things are checked in pre-testing, and then we power instrument.
Again, the question is that what should be the size of the sample?
For pre-testing, there is no size, but select the sample for pre-testing from your sample where you are going to do your research work. And it's always preferred if you can have a good number of people for pre-testing. Good number has no number, exact number, but if you have a time, go for maybe say 15, 20 or 50 or 60. That's all. Not many. Pre-testing, because we are not going to use any statistics. So starting any number from say 20 to 30 and to 60 will do the job of pre-testing.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait for another question coming up.
Okay.
Do we need to present it in the thesis that result?
Yes. Yeah. Pre-testing you must report in your thesis. It's very important.
Okay. Another question, sir. What should be the sample size for 3,000 population?
Here, remember, we don't call it a sample at all. This is pre-testing. We select few prospective respondents. Are you getting my point? The word sample you need not use here. That's why you are confused. Pre-testing is we are testing the instrument questions with some people who will be our respondent, so that they are able to understand my question. They are able to answer my questions.
That
The
should
structure.
happen before the validity testing, sir?
No, with questionnaire, we do not think of validity. Validity, reliability is for the scales.
Okay.
Yeah, not for the questionnaire. There's no way to calculate validity or reliability for the questionnaire. I'll repeat, that's the reason we prefer a scale, standardized scale, where validity is known, reliability can be established, re-established.
So I think you can continue, sir. You were talking about sample size and population, and that got confused.
Yeah, so no sample size. What is this? Sarajul Haq. Now, see, are you asking about the sample from the population, which you have discussed in the earlier sessions? Haq. Sirajul Haq. Or you are talking of the sample for pre-testing?
Yeah, he's talking simply about the sample size for 3,000 population.
Yeah, you have to use Cressy-Morgan table we have discussed in our earlier sessions. Here, there is no sample at all. Here, we select a handful of respondents, prospective respondents, and we test our questionnaire. Here, the basic purpose is testing our questionnaire, the questions, its sequence, its structure, its language, etc., etc.
You can go for 384, Sirajul, is the population is
Yeah,
3,000.
84 is that.
Can we take percentage?
No, it is a misnomer, Sirajul. There is no concept like 10%, 5%. These are all mistakes, blunders. We have to go with some scientific logic, and which is explained by Cressy-Morgan. On internet, you put Cressy-Morgan 1970 and you see the article, you will understand. No percentage. It's a scientific study. What is the logic of 10%? Sirajul, can you tell me? Is there any logic for 10%? Why not 8%?
Why not 100%?
Because it's a scientific research. Research is a scientific activity. Here we have no place for arbitrary decision. Every decision needs some logic. Sirajul says, okay. No more question? We'll proceed.
Yes, sir, please.
Coming to the fourth step. Sirajul asked again, what is that?
Standard sample size varies from 10 to 20%.
That is a misnomer, Sirajul. There's nothing like that in any of the research book. And it is just somebody has put it. There is no standard sample size. It is a blunder if you say like this. No textbook on research mentions about it. It's not possible.
I'm not sure if you were there in the last session.
Yeah, he was not.
Determination of sample size.
No.
In that session, it was explained. You may go through the video. I think the question that you're asking are all the
related
questions that were already asked, and these percentage and all things are extremely ignorant question in terms of whether to use in the research or not. So
yeah.
I recommend you to watch the video from that session.
Somebody is typing. I was absent. Yes.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's
no problem.
okay. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. We'll go further.
Yes, sir.
No, there is.
After collection of data through pre-tests, what are the statistical tests that we can use to make any further improvement in the questionnaire?
No, Khalid. You have missed the purpose of pre-testing. I'll repeat for you. Purpose of pre-testing is testing the questionnaire. That is, its language, the format, whether it is understood by respondent, whether it is ambiguous. These are the questions related to questionnaire. The purpose of pre-testing is to find out these things. So pre-testing tells you that whether your questionnaire is okay. So there is nothing to do with the statistical test here. Is it clear, Khalid?
He's writing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, sir.
Clear. So pre-testing is testing of instrument, no statistical tests.
So we can go to a language expert and.
Yeah, that is the one. Yeah, you can take the help of subject expert. You can go for language expert, and that will help you to make a very effective tool of data collection.
We can skip all these if we are having a standard question.
Yes, that is already done by the author of the standard scale.
Let's move.
Move. Okay, now pre-testing can help you determine the strength and weaknesses of your questionnaire format, wording, and order. This you will know after your pre-testing. If all the questions are answered correctly by the respondent, certainly you can say that your questionnaire is effective. They are not confused. They don't take much time in understanding the question. What you aim to get information you are getting means your questionnaire is effective. Pre-test usually involve an interview setting where respondents are asked to explain reactions to question from form, wording, in order. This is the one thing you should note. After completing the pre-testing with a respondent, you also go for or ask for the comments of the respondents to your questionnaire. How he felt about the question, about the response, and you note it and try to incorporate in your questionnaire. Even the respondents may suggest you to bring a lot of changes to make your questionnaire effective. So this is the advantage of pre-testing. Don't just ignore the reactions of the respondents. If a respondent says it's a funny question, take it seriously and try to improve. And again, you put to the respondent. This kind of pre-testing will help you to determine whether the questionnaire is understandable so that you will get valid data. Finally, the questionnaire should be edited and the procedures for its use should be specified. How this will be used, you give specific instructions. Now we are coming to the structure of the questionnaire. Usually we divide a questionnaire into different parts or sections. As you wish, you can have part A, part B, or section A, section B. But it is always preferable to have different sections or different parts of your questionnaire. Usually, part A will have title of the research project, introduction of the researcher, your introduction should be there, then purpose of the data collection, and also you mention about confidentiality. This we also call it preliminary part of the questionnaire. For example, you can give a simple few sentences. I am Nageshwar Rao. I am pursuing doctoral research in the Department of Psychology at the University of Mysore. This is the identification of the institution in subject, which subject you are doing. These are all gives a good impression to the respondent, likely to get reliable responses. And the second part, it says, data collected through this questionnaire will be exclusively used for my doctoral research. This establishes confidence in the minds of the respondent, who will be then free to give you the correct answer.
Your identity will be kept.
Yeah, that also you can say, that comes I think later. That's called confidentiality. That also you say, data collected through this questionnaire will be kept confidential and it would be used only for academic purpose. This note helps you to get the valid responses from the respondent. If a respondent is very confident that you will not use this, you will not allow somebody to use your data in different way, they will definitely give you the correct and valid answer. Part B, generally we say demographic data or personal information. In this part of the questionnaire, questions are asked to collect personal information about the respondent, such as age, gender, social category, religion. But remember, don't ask the demographic data which you are not going to use it. Unnecessary data should not be. Social category, you should ask if you are really going to use it for your research work. Religion, if it is necessary, you ask. If it is not going to be used in your research, It's not a variable in the study. Do not ask about it. Ask only those personal data which will be at some point the independent variable for your testing. As a researcher, you should be sure. Many researchers just put everything here. Language, whether you can write, you can read, etc. etc. I have seen people asking 50 questions on demographic and hardly they use for 10. 40 are just waste. In research, we don't.
Should we avoid asking name?
Name you can ask, but put the in bracket optional. Definitely you say optional means if a respondent wants to give, let them give. If he doesn't want, it's not necessary. Because we never analyze the name for research. It is only for identification, that is, in case we have some missing data, we'll be able to locate the respondent. That's the reason we ask for name.
Contact number, sir.
Or if you, that is,
then there will be so many things.
So many things, but these are all to get in case of missing data. The best way is that in your questionnaire, when you are administering, see that there is no missing data. So you don't need all this because it will be just unnecessary information which you are not going to use, and it will be just waste of your energy.
If there are some missing data, can we guess based on the 80% response that respondent has given what he would have answered if, and then fill it ourselves?
No, that's a blunder, because the variation in responses is the key of research, and we cannot have pattern. We cannot just guess a pattern. It can vary in 100 ways. 100 respondent means 100 variations. That is a presumption, the basic presumption of research. That's why we conduct research.
So I'm talking about the missing data, sir.
No, I mean, yeah, okay. That is okay. Missing data means there is a provision in SPSS which will fill the missing data on its own. We can just take 2-3 ticks and it will fill the missing data based on the pattern, based on the average, based on the trend of the whole data. It calculates and put the figure. But we never suggest such kind of filling the data by SPSS. For a good research, particularly when you are doing a doctoral research, don't use such things. For a big sponsored projects and all, we may do where it is time, cost and all is involved. But for doctoral research, the rule is that for missing data, you must go and collect it again. Because that brings the error. Whatever SPSS fills you, the data, it's an error. I hope it is clear. Personal information, only information which is necessary, essential for your research, you ask for. Don't ask anything which you are not going to use for your research work.
Rao was asking, while asking age, income, it is given to blank, options are better like 10 to 20.
It's not better, it is worst. It's a misconception. Remember, I think it has come from the earlier days when it was all manual. So for convenience sake, they used to group. But we have mentioned, I have mentioned it a number of times in different sessions, and you must note, moment you pre-classify data, which is arbitrary classification, what you are doing 10 to 20, 20, 30, does not have any scientific logic. It's called arbitrary classification, which is not accepted in research work. We can classify data based on some statistical value, like quartile or mode.
Like you recommended, sir, that we should not use the word selected city, selected word.
Yes. There's also a wrong practice. There's no meaning in saying select industries. Generally, people do it. It's a biased area of study, biased sample. I hope it's clear. Grouping of the data. No 10, 20, 20, 30. It's a banned in the research today.
We can do it after collecting the data.
That we can do through SPSS. SPSS has functions. It has a function which can reclassify the data age. First you collect the actual age, 26, 28, 39. Then through SPSS functions, we can reclassify 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, taking the statistical value, maybe median, mean, quartile, percentile, any number, and that will be the scientific classification. And also if you take from measurement level, the moment you classify, get the data and classify, you are converting the ratio level data, I hope you remember, into nominal, 4th stage to 1st stage. The data which should have been in ratio scale, age or income, if you say 30 to 40, it becomes nominal data. You are classifying into 2-3 categories. That's wrong. So you must not do that.
Should we prefer to make questionnaire based on the ratio or interval scale over ordinal or normal scale?
Yes, you should try, and as far as possible, see that your questions fetches interval and ratio data. You will be able to apply all statistics. So your effort should be to put the question so that you get higher level of measurement. If you remember, like academic performance, as a researcher, you can ask and give the response pass, fail, which will be the lowest level of measurement. And if you ask, give me the OGPA, so he says 9.4. That is the most accurate form of data, highest level. There you can use any statistics up to regression. But pass, fail, you can have only ratio and proportion.
How can we measure income of the respondent? I think he's asking after we have collected that accurate data.
No, you need not measure. You have to ask that what is his salary, what is his income, and let him give what he gets. What exactly you mean by measurement?
Respondent avoid to give real age or income. How can we handle it?
You don't need the actual. We never need actual figures. I can give you the examples. Whenever you ask somebody, until unless he recalls birth, he cannot calculate exact age. So he says 20, and it may mean 20 years, 11 months, and it could be 19 years, 8 months. So it's always approximate. And so with this in mind, we say that, okay, you give me your age, and it is taken care of by statistical procedures. We call inertia of large numbers. It takes care of that approximate value, and we get the exact result.
Then why do we even do that, sir? Why not ask date of birth directly?
Will be excellent. If you can get date of birth, then you have to calculate. We can calculate it, and that would be the exact. But in social science research, remember, we don't need this actual, because the attitude or perception which you want to examine does not depend on few months and few days. So it is actually does not make much difference if we get the exact date in year, months and date, because it has nothing to affect the dependent variable.
I think demographic section should be replaced by a copy of Aadhaar card. That should answer all the questions. How to handle multiple responses?
Yeah, there is a program, the function in SPSS, processing of multiple responses. So if you attend our SPSS workshop, we can show you. Hanuman Rao. It is there. SPSS can handle multiple responses. Okay? Any other question?
No.
No. After the personal information, in the next section, we ask the questions on our factors. So there can be a set of questions on social support, another set of questions on spiritual well-being, physical health, and psychological health. Here we can use the questions which are opinion or perception questions. And you can see the set of questions. These are the questions we can ask for social support, and we can give a similar response pattern so that we can set and make it one variable. On similar lines, we can select questions on spiritual well-being, physical health, psychological health, and life satisfaction, which is a dependent variable. Now, I'll just tell you something about life satisfaction. Now, here again, I will suggest you to use one of the standardized scale. Just putting set of questions, the results will not be so accurate. So, in a questionnaire also, we use some small scales as one part of the questionnaire, particularly for dependent variable like life satisfaction. We have number of standardized scale used by researchers. So we can pick up one and put in our questionnaire and process. It is advantageous to use scales that have been used successfully to measure the concepts in previous studies because of their known reliability and validity. Thus, we will select a standardized scale to measure life satisfaction through internet. Open this following link. Through internet, I am just examining the scales, and one scale I'll take and use it with some modification if required. I'm showing you how we select scale.
Just a moment here.
Yeah, you can ask any question if you have. So the time you are, we are trying to show you how we use internet to get some scale. Yeah, just come. Yeah.
Is this the
Yeah. No. You can open the Google now. We'll type life satisfaction. That's all.
Yes.
Open the Google.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Here. We'll just in Google you type scale to measure life satisfaction. And where is that? Right. See here. Yeah. Now we have here number of scales. Can you see it? These are all the standardized scale. So suppose we take satisfaction with life. It is in PDF format, and you have here the scale. No, this you can put in the full screen. Yeah, you can see here. Just do it. Next page. Yeah.
Left side.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you can see here, right side. There is a small scale. It's a very famous scale developed by. It's very popular all over the world. In a very short survey, you can use this, and it gives you very correct results. There is a manual is also there, and you can just administer. This is 7-point scale. And there are 5 questions, that's all. Collect data on this 7-point, and then there is a manual scoring. You can just use this. It's a scientifically established norms. We call it norms. Norms have been established by us. You collect the data, sum up the scores, and you can decide where is your respondent from extremely satisfied to extremely dissatisfied. Likewise, we have number of scales. So I suggest you to use these scales for your important variables. It's better to use these standardized scales. I hope you have got my point.
Take it away.
Yeah. Until you minimize it, because
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right there.
just minimize.
If there are any questions before we end the screen sharing,
Yeah.
you can ask on this.
No question. Life satisfaction. Still you have to go. Yeah. Yes. Here we were.
Yes.
So for measurement of life satisfaction, which is a dependent variable for our research, we can use the scale, and which will be a very right thing. Now I'm giving you an example which is used for a doctoral research student has used this. Life satisfaction among older adults study in Hyderabad and Secunderabad. First is demographic data, then physical health, then psychological health, then life satisfaction, etc. Then finally we have instructions. Now, any question you have, you can ask quickly. We have time, no doubt. And then we'll sum up. Any question you have, you want to ask? We'll wait for 2-3 minutes. Yeah.
Sir, in the title you suggested that not to use the select word.
Yeah.
But if not using select word, that means if we specify the area, like you mentioned one of the examples here, Hyderabad and Secunderabad.
Right.
That is anyway select.
No. This is what we call target population. Only one precaution we have to make. While generalizing our findings, you have to say that this is true with Hyderabad, Secunderabad, elderly people in Hyderabad, Secunderabad, and it takes care of that. But in select industry, there is always a bias. Or if you say at the end of your conclusion when you have to say this finding is applicable to the select industry. that gives an idea that it's a very biased study. On what basis you have selected? That is a big question. So that's why we suggest Hyderabad, Secunderabad is a geographical area. You can take Telangana as you wish. So you have to generalize with the Telangana or Hyderabad, depending upon your this. That is permitted in research. But the word select, we do not suggest, because that is a question of which indicates the bias. Or if you can justify somewhere in methodology that how it was a selection was scientific. You have to say, if you can say that it is scientifically selected, then it's okay. There should be a logic, there should be a scientific reasoning. I think there is no question.
Yes.
So we'll just sum up this session now. We can prepare an effective questionnaire which will answer our research question.
Okay, sir, it's coming. Questions are coming.
Okay.
So, sorry to interrupt.
Okay, no problem.
If we club a few questions under one head and other few under different heads, do we have any provision for analyzing such data in SPSS?
We can, but it's again complicated procedure in SPSS. So it's better not to club. Let each question be asked and answered as a one variable we can feed into the SPSS.
Any website for searching standardized scales?
There are many websites. You simply in Google you type the scale you want. You can simply say scale to measure anxiety, scale to measure depression, whatever socioeconomic status, and you will get a dozen websites. Saida, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
No more question.
Yes.
Second thing is that there are 5 steps of constructing a questionnaire. They are knowing about the information we want to gather, administration of draft questionnaire, preparation of a draft questionnaire, pre-testing of questionnaire, and preparation of final draft of questionnaire. A questionnaire consists of title of the research project, introduction of the researcher, purpose of data collection, a note on confidentiality. How to know about kind of information we need for preparing questionnaire. Why standardized scales are preferred? Answer is to know what kind of information we need. We have to keep in mind research topic, research question, objectives of the study, and of the hypothesis of the study. It is advantageous to use scales that have been used successfully to measure their constructs in previous studies, and its reliability and validity are known. So at the end of session,
Send a quiz, sir, and in the meantime, if you have any questions.
question you type. Sirajul Haq. Very good compliment. Thanks, Sirajul. Now keep keep it up, do a good research, quality research. That is our purpose of this webinar. Let your research it be example in the university. Rasid, yeah, asking.
If someone asks, why have you selected Hyderabad, what will be the answer in any scenario?
I think there is no such question comes because as a researcher, you have a choice. You cannot study the whole India. You cannot study the whole AP or Telangana.
Because I was born in Hyderabad, so I love Hyderabad.
No, that is subjective. But it's a very, as a researcher, you can define your target population. You have got the privilege of defining, and there cannot be a question on it. I hope you are getting my point. It is the privilege of, but researcher must keep in mind while he is or she is taking the conclusions, that conclusion must be generalized on people of Hyderabad. There you cannot generalize for the whole India.
And that question comes only when other states, other cities are also competitive. Otherwise, there is no sense of doing in South Africa.
That's true. But I'll give you some supplementary answer for this also, that it's not so important the area of study. Only thing is that you select and keep it in mind as a target population. But the major thing of the research, major purpose of research is the subject. Never forget the subject of the study. Life satisfaction is the subject. As a researcher, your focus should be finding out the facts about life satisfaction and other factors. Whether it is in Hyderabad or Bangalore or Chennai, does not make much difference. Only thing is that we have to give a boundary. We have to give an area of study. I hope I'm making it clear. Because it cannot be undefined. You cannot simply say factors affecting life satisfaction and stop. Question would be where? So that's the reason we define the area of study, we call it. But it's just area of study. That means for the generalization, we have to keep in mind. That's all. What is that?
SPSS workshop, if possible, add multivariate statistical techniques. It helps us.
Yes, it is. It is the part of an SPSS workshop. You will learn the multivariate analysis.
It is already there, Mr. Rao. So do we have a forgot that. Factor analysis on that side?
No, we are not taking because that is advanced kind of thing and time. But if there are people who are interested, we have a brief explanation about factor analysis. So send your suggestion. If there are a group of people who want factor analysis, we can include it. There is no problem.
Well, these are the words of compliment coming in, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, and all the team members. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir. Most useful sessions to our research work to complete. Yes, certainly. Thanks a lot, sir, from Ajaz, Naresh, Rahbar, Rao, and excellent sessions, sir. And Rukmini, thank you for the wonderful workshop to make our future research qualitative. Definitely, what would be the best thing that we did at quality research, after doing this kind of session? That's the ultimate goal for us. Naresh, the instructor for SPSS also, any practice is required?
Yes.
Trial session?
Yes. Practice session required. We'll tell you after the session how you should practice. I will show you some system files are there where you can practice. Naresh.
In SPSS, how we have designed it is that, first of all, we have put it in such a way that it does not intervene your work schedule. It happens in the evening time, when you are at your home or away from your workplace. Secondly, it is specific to the social science research, and then it is distributed in 4 sessions, and the first session happens on Thursdays and on Friday, and then you have enough time on Saturday and Sunday to practice those sessions and move forward to Monday and Tuesday. Another 4 sessions will happen. So I think this is a very good design which will make you perfect in whatever you learn. You're asking, Rukmini, for practice SPSS, is there any free trial version?
Yes.
In the link that I sent, I specifically mentioned the URL where each participant for SPSS should go register and download that. It is free for 14 days. So we recommend you to do that before the session. If you have it in front of you, that would be great. Sumit Kumar Thapa, thank you, sir. Very good and good session. Well, all of the participants, thank you very much for making this event a successful one. And we hope to see you all in the SPSS session now.
Yeah.
And let others know, your colleague and your friends, that another set of these weekend seminars will continue to happen in the month of February, which starts from the upcoming Saturday of January 2017. So if you really enjoyed it, the best way you can spread this message is to let your friends and your colleague know about this so they can also get benefited. Shabana is saying, thank you very much, sir, for making this workshop successful.
Oh, thank you.
And Khalid, thank you very much, sir, for all the valuable information. We see you in a SPSS session. Sure, Khalid.
Rukmini is typing.
And again, I just want to remind you that your certificate will be issued on Tuesday, and before that, you will be sent with an email link in an email where you have to put the information. It's a small feedback. It's not a questionnaire, but a form to fill in. So all your knowledge and all the sessions, your feedback about it, and the name that you want on the certificate. And again, email will be sent with a link where you can download your verifiable certificate.
Ranjit is typing some questions.
Thank you very much, Rukmani, for your
Compliments.
Compliments and referrals. Yes, some people were very consistent among all the sessions.
Yeah.
I must say that, and some of them are
Yeah.
still looking forward for the next session.
Yeah.
And we understand that some of the sessions have been missed by you, but we really recommend you to go back to those sessions and watch the video. Like Siraj, we recommend you to watch the last sample and sample size determination videos.
Yeah.
Rajneesh Singh, thank you so much for your efforts and valuable information.
Yeah.
Well, anybody?
There's one. They are asking quiz answer of the quiz one.
Oh yes, sure.
So I'll tell you.
Yes, certainly.
What is the first question? How to go there?
Just need to scroll up, sir.
It's not going up. It's going up. Yeah. We should avoid leading question. Is the correct answer? 68% people have said yes, correct. Dichotomous questions should have 3 options. False. Yes. 80% people have said correct answer. Do you accept bribe? Is a threatening question, not leading. Then 3 questions only, or there are more?
There were only 3, sir.
Only 3. No. Would you like to have tea or coffee? Is a double-barrel question. Many of you have said correctly.
Oh.
So it is a double-barrel question. Have tea or coffee.
All right. So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much again, all of you. And we end the session now. You still can contact us for any help you need. Support at examometer.com.
Sure.
We'll be happy to help you. Have a great evening and have a great New Year.
Yeah, we wish you all Happy New Year and also quality research. We wish you that you will be completing your very good quality research.
Well, Naresh, thank you, sir. Happy New Year to all of you.
Yeah. Yes.
Same to you, sir. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Thanks a lot again. We are ending the event now. See you soon. Thank you. Oh, something for us. Examometer organizers. Yeah, sure. We take a compliment.
Yeah.
Little can happen with one, and it's the, of course, part of a group. All right. Bye bye. Take care.